Yo, did you hear that there's a giant asteroid headed our way in about 110 days?
Yeah, it's called a rock. Space has lots of them. That's what space does.
Okay, so if it's just a rock, then why does it look suspiciously like an alien Uber pulling up to Earth?
Because your brain runs on expired whiskey and YouTube videos at 3 a.m.
Don't mock the whiskey. It's a divine elixir. For all we know, whiskey was given to us by the Anunnaki. Liquid courage from the gods.
So, what you're telling me is that the aliens show up and instead of giving us advanced tech, they hand us over a hangover in a bottle?
Exactly! That's how they kept us under control. Every civilization falls, not by war, but by tequila
I
shots.
thought it was whiskey.
Dude, whatever. Just do the stupid
I
intro.
hate you so much. Welcome to The Witch Show, where smart meets stupid and somehow makes sense. I'm Georgie, and I'm thinking out loud, so you don't have to.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show. From what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story, bro.
Welcome back, guys. Today we're diving into the Anunnaki, the Book of Enoch, and the Watchers. The craziest part is some of these all might be chapters in the same epic cosmic story. So the Anunnaki are one of the most mysterious groups of gods from ancient Mesopotamian mythology. According to Sumerian texts, they weren't just gods. They were rulers, judges, and some believe that ancient visitors from the stars. One in particular was Zacharias Stitchens. He had a controversial theory. He thought that the Anunnaki were extraterrestrials from a hidden planet called Nibiru. They supposedly came to Earth to mine gold, use humans as a workforce, and may have genetically engineered us. Some theorists argued that they weren't just gods, that they were the original watchers over mankind. But we've heard of watchers before, particularly in the Book of Enoch. Now I know what you're thinking. Wasn't the Book of Enoch written out of the Bible? Okay, sure. But think about it this way. You're telling me an alleged true story was written out of another alleged true story. So which one's real? Or are we just writing fake books out of fake books because the first fake book didn't meet the narrative? However you want to look at it, we're going to move into the Book of Enoch, a text so controversial that it was left out of the Bible. But more specifically, the Watchers. They were angels sent to observe mankind, but instead they fell in love with the humans. They taught us forbidden knowledge and fathered the Nephilim, a giant hybrid offspring. And the knowledge? Well, that included things like weapon making, sorcery, and astrology. Even beautification, like makeup and jewelry. Basically, the Watchers were cosmic bad influences and handing out cheat codes to civilization. And here's the kicker. Some researchers tied the Watchers to the Anunnaki, saying that they're just different names for the same beings. Whether gods, angels, or aliens, the story always points to the beings from above, meddling in human affairs. But let's fast forward a little bit. Enter 2025. A new interstellar object has been spotted. It's called 3I Atlas. Discovered July 2025, it's only the third interstellar visitor ever seen in our own solar system. And Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb suggests it might not be a comet, but alien technology, a probe. But why do we think it's a probe? Well, because its path is suspicious. It lines up almost perfectly with our solar plane. It flies by major planets in an oddly precise way, and it's going to swing behind the sun where Earth can't see it. And Avi Loeb suggests that's exactly what you would do if you wanted to hide from human telescopes. Then, of course, the other scientists are like, just relax, it's just a comet. But skeptics also said the same thing about Oumuamua in 2017. If you don't know what that is, that was the first interstellar object we ever saw. And that thing had a bizarre acceleration with no visible tail. So the question is, are we seeing modern-day watchers arriving? A probe? Not unlike what Enoch described. Beings keeping an eye on humanity, that sort of thing. But where's this cosmic connection, you say? Well, that's easy. Ancient texts talk about gods and angels descending from the heavens. Today, science talks about interstellar probes and alien craft. If you got a brain, you can make the connection. Whether it's the Anunnaki with gold mining agendas, the Watchers giving us forbidden knowledge, or a mysterious rock zipping through our solar system, the story is always the same. Something is definitely watching us. But what do you think? Were the Anunnaki the same as the Watchers in the Book of Enoch? Or are these interstellar objects just space rocks? Or maybe it's just the continuation story of the world's oldest human history. Why don't you tell me in the comments? Let's start in ancient Sumer, over 4,000 years ago. Imagine clay tablets, not iPads, but on those tablets the Sumerians wrote about the Anunnaki, sky beings who descended from the heavens. According to their myths, the Anunnaki were not just watching humanity, they were shaping it. Some legends say that they created humans by mixing divine essence with earthly clay. Others say that they came here looking for gold, not the jewelry kind, but to repair their planet's atmosphere. Basically, Ancient Aliens Home Depot. But here's where it gets good. Ancient astronaut theorists, yeah, the guys with the wild hair on the History Channel, argue that the Anunnaki weren't just gods in myth, but extraterrestrial visitors who genetically tinkered with Earth's humans. Boom! Missing link explained. And if you squint hard enough, the story of Anunnaki looks a lot like the book of Genesis. Higher beings creating humanity in their image, a flood sent to punish mankind. Sound familiar? Kind of makes you wonder why every different story about gods all kind of have the same premise. Alright, let's break into the interesting cabinet for a second. Did you know that humans are the odd ones out? Specifically in the primate family tree? Chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, all of them have 48 chromosomes, but us? We've only got 46. So where did 2 of them go? Well, here's the wild part, right? Scientists discovered that our chromosome number 2 is actually the result of a fusion. 2 ancient ape chromosomes, often called 2A and 2B, somehow slammed together. Normally, chromosomes are capped with little protective ends called telomeres, so they don't stick together like tangled shoelaces. But in humans, these 2 chromosomes fuse together end to end anyway. And guess what? The scar tissue is still there, right in the middle of chromosome 2. Even weirder, chromosome 2 has not 1, but 2 centromeres. Every chromosome is only supposed to have 1, but in humans, you can see the remnants of the second one, kind of like the ghost of another chromosome. It's undebatable proof that something unnatural happened in our past. But mainstream scientists will say, oh, it's just a random mutation that stuck. But ancient astronaut theorists, and you know exactly where I'm going with this, suggest something different. What if this wasn't random at all? What if this was genetic engineering? The Sumerian tablets talk about the Anunnaki, the godlike beings who supposedly came down from the heavens and engineered humanity. If you were going to create a new species, what's the fastest way to do it? Well, you don't start from scratch. You modify what's already here. You take an early humanoid, tweak the DNA, fuse the chromosomes together to stabilize the design, and then boom, you've got Homo sapiens, a perfect worker race. I mean, think about it. Humans are the perfect working race. Don't you get stir crazy when you sit around the house too long with nothing to do? That anxiety feeling where you feel like you need to get up and do something? I know I personally do that all the time. And people with ADD like me are always chasing that dopamine. And here's the kicker. Our chromosome 2 looks like it's been tampered with. Capped, sealed, and stabilized in a way that almost screams laboratory work. Was this the smoking gun? Did the Anunnaki leave their fingerprint inside our very DNA? I can't say for sure. You decide. But one thing is for sure. Every cell in your body carries the evidence that something strange happened to humanity a long, long time ago. The Anunnaki really out here like, no human, I am your father. Here's something most people don't know. One of the biggest mysteries in our DNA is hiding in plain sight. Chromosome number 2. Now, I mentioned before that humans have 46 chromosomes, but chimps, gorillas, and orangutans have 48. So, where did ours go? Well, they didn't disappear. 2 of them were fused together to make one giant chromosome. And the evidence is right there. Telomere scars in the middle, a ghost centromere that shouldn't be there. It looks patched together like something spliced it in a lab. I mean, you've all heard it in the book of Genesis where it talks about we were created in the image of God. Is it so hard to believe that we were actually created in the image of God or gods? In this theory, the Anunnaki or the Watchers? I mean, come on, think about it. It's not that hard. Now, mainstream science says that fusion wasn't a mistake. It might have actually helped us survive. How? Well, first by stabilizing the genome. Bigger, fused chromosomes are less likely to break apart, meaning fewer deadly mutations. When that fusion happened, it shuffled the deck of our genes, putting some side by side that had never worked together before. That could have rewired the way our brains developed, giving us sharper thinking, maybe even the roots of language itself. And here's the big one: reproductive isolation. If a group of early humans had 46 chromosomes while the rest still had 48, those groups might not have been able to breed with each other. That genetic split could have made us, a brand new species. But here's the part that makes the conspiracy bells ring. What if it wasn't random? What if that fusion wasn't a cosmic accident, but a genetic edit? After all, the Sumerian texts say that the Anunnaki created humanity to serve them. I mean, think about it. If you were an advanced being trying to engineer a worker race, wouldn't you do exactly this? Fuse chromosomes, stabilizing the design, give them intelligence, lock them into a distinct population, and then cap the ends so that it doesn't unravel? It almost feels intentional, like someone left a signature in our DNA saying, yeah, we made you. So, was chromosome 2 nature's lucky roll of the dice, or was it a calling card of the gods who walked among men? Either way, every cell in your body is carrying the answer, and it's been there since the very beginning. Now let's jump forward, still ancient, but into the Hebrew Apocrypha, the Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch introduces us to the Watchers, angels sent to oversee humanity. Sounds chill, right? Except for they go full spring break. They teach humans things they weren't supposed to know. Weapons, astrology, sorcery, and then they fall for human women. Now, it says this in the book, and I'm kind of wondering if maybe they were just men. Or were some of the Watchers women, and were they hot? Just kidding, just kidding. Anyway, that leads us to the Nephilim, right? The giant hybrid offspring that stomped around like early Godzilla prototypes. Anyway, this story was so wild that it got left out of the Bible, like too mental for Sunday school. But here's the kicker. The Watchers sound eerily like the Anunnaki, sky beings who meddled with the humans, handed out forbidden knowledge, and upset the cosmic balance. And remember the Nephilim, giants who devoured mankind? Compare that to the Sumerian myths of the demigods, hybrid offsprings of the gods and humans, two different cultures and one suspiciously similar narrative. Now here's where the theory really twists. Some researchers argue that the biblical god wasn't a similar being, but the chief of these sky visitors. In Sumer, that was Anu, the leader of the Anunnaki, and over time the stories consolidated and many gods became one god. The rebellious Watchers cast out of heaven, that's just another version of the rebellious Anunnaki who disobeyed orders. Divine punishment, the great floods, fury judgment, it's like watching the same movie reboot in different cultures. So the big question, was God a divine creature beyond space and time, or the leader of an ancient alien species guiding early humanity? But let's fast forward to now. Theories about the Anunnaki and the Watchers fuel the ancient alien movement. Some say that doesn't disprove God at all. It frames him. Maybe God used these beings as messengers, tools, or even as contractors in this creation project. And then there's the question, why was the Book of Enoch banned from the Bible? Too fantastical or too close to the truth? One thing's for sure, from Mesopotamia to the Bible, humans have always looked to the sky and wondered if beings up there were watching us, guiding us, or messing with us for their own reasons. So what do we make of all of it? The Anunnaki, the Watchers, God himself, are they separate myths? Or are they just different translations of the same ancient stories? Then of course we got Greek mythology. In Greek mythology, the Olympian gods descended from Mount Olympus to meddle in human affairs, handing out punishments, rewards, and even children of their own. Zeus throwing thunderbolts, and then of course Enlil sending the Great Flood. Both are stories of divine overlords shaping the destiny of mankind. It's almost as if different cultures were telling the same story with different names. Were the Anunnaki and the Olympians just two interpretations of this same cosmic being? Maybe they weren't myths at all, but eyewitness accounts filtered through different languages and traditions. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers describe the angels who descended to earth and took human wives. They fathered hybrid giants called the Nephilim. Greek mythology tells of the Titans, primal beings who ruled before the Olympians and also mingled with mortals. Then you had their offsprings who were often monstrous and heroic, but always larger than life. Both stories describe a time when beings not quite human, not quite divine, walked among us and left behind children that changed the world. Was this imagination, or could these Watchers and Titans have been the same race of beings remembered differently by Sumerians, Hebrews, or even Greeks? It's almost like humanity is haunted by the same ancient memory, powerful beings, interfering with human bloodlines, that sort of thing. But the Watchers didn't just father giants, they gave humanity knowledge we weren't supposed to have. Metallurgy, astronomy, even sorcery. In Greek mythology, who does that sound like? Prometheus, the titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humans, only to be chained and tortured for eternity? Both the Watchers and Prometheus are punished for helping humanity advance. And that raises the biggest question. Why would the gods or higher beings want to keep humans ignorant? Were we meant to remain a primitive labor force? Did some rebel against the plan, giving us tools to evolve faster? Across cultures, we see the same theme. Divine beings trying to control knowledge, and a few rebels breaking the rules to empower mankind. Could it have been the Anunnaki who descended from the heavens and fell in love with mankind, or women specifically? In Sumerian stories, the Anunnaki descend from the heavens to establish order on Earth. In Norse myth, the Eris or gods like Odin, Thor and Tyr dwell in Asgard high above and constantly interfere with humanity. Odin is described as the All-Father, ruler of men, almost identical to Enlil and Zeus. Thor's thunderbolts echo the storm gods who punish mankind in both Mesopotamia and Greek traditions. Across all three, Sumerian, Greek, and Norse, we see the same pattern. Sky gods descending, ruling, fighting, and shaping human fate. Were these separate pantheons, or the same beings remembered under different names across different continents? So in the Book of Enoch, it says that the Watchers bred with humans, producing giants, the Nephilim. In the Norse lore, there's a constant theme of giants, the Jutnir. These weren't just mindless brutes either. Many were wise, powerful, and even interbred with gods themselves. In fact, Odin's own bloodline contains giant ancestry. Doesn't that sound familiar again? Gods mingling with beings not entirely human, creating hybrid bloodlines, the Nephilim of the Hebrew text, the demigods of the Greece, the giant kin of the Norse. All creatures describe a race of beings that blurred the lines between divine and mortal. Maybe these aren't myths at all. Maybe they're fractured memories of real encounters with the same entities. And the Watchers were punished for giving humans forbidden knowledge. Prometheus was chained for giving fire. In Norse mythology, Odin sacrifices himself to the world tree, hanging for 9 nights to gain the wisdom of the runes. Secret knowledge that powers humanity. Again, we see the same theme. Divine beings controlling knowledge, deciding what mankind should or shouldn't have. Was Odin really a god seeking wisdom? Or was he one of the Anunnaki rebels, breaking ranks to slip humanity secrets we weren't supposed to know? If you look close, the myths all echo each other. Knowledge is dangerous, and gods punish anyone who dares to share it with humans. It's the same thing, repetitive over and over again in different religions across different continents. Throughout history, when strange objects lit up the skies, ancient people didn't shrug it off. They saw omens. Comets meant kings would fall, empires would crumble, or gods were on the move. Now in 2025, we've got 3i Atlas, only the third known object to enter our solar system from an interstellar space. Scientists say that it's a comet, but what if it's not? What if it's an omen in the old sense? What if it's a cosmic reminder, a flare shot across the galaxy whispering, "The ones who came before are coming again"? The Anunnaki were said to descend from the heavens. The Watchers came from the sky, the Greeks, the Norse. Same story. Maybe 3i Atlas is the modern omen pointing back to the same timeless truth. Some theorists suggest that the cosmic visitors didn't just teach humans, they modified us. Chromosome 2 proves that something strange happened in our DNA. Now look at 3i Atlas, an interstellar traveler carrying frozen gases, organic molecules, maybe even complex chemistry. We've never seen it before. If the Anunnaki seeded life and tampered with humanity, could comets like 3i Atlas have been the carrier of the genetic material? Ancient myths say that God shaped us from clay. But what if clay meant star stuff, carried on interstellar messengers? Maybe 3i Atlas isn't just a rock and ice. Maybe it's carrying the same raw ingredients that were used to make us into the first place. Here's a thought experiment, right? What if 3i Atlas is not empty? Avi Loeb and other scientists have suggested interstellar objects could be alien technology designed as natural comets. Imagine if that's true. If inside the comet and ice shell of 3i Atlas is something else, a probe, a sensor, a piece of machinery older than civilization. The Watchers were said to descend and observe, sometimes guiding, sometimes corrupting. What if that never stopped? What if 3i Atlas is literally a Watcher passing through to scan the progress of the species they once engineered? To us, it's a comet. To them, it's a check-in on their long-term experiment called humanity. But this isn't your grandma's comet. 3i Atlas is allegedly the fastest object ever detected in our solar system, zipping through at over 130,000 miles an hour. At least that's what they're telling you is the fastest thing that's ever gone through our solar system. But in 1957, as part of Operation Plum Bob, this one's a fun one, the US conducted an underground nuclear test that assesses how to contain explosions. One such test, Pascal B, involved detonating a device at the bottom of a 500-foot vertical shaft, sealed with a hefty 900-kilogram steel plate cap. Or you could just call it a manhole cover. Anyway, when the bomb detonated, the explosion blasted the cap off the shaft so violently that it appeared in only one frame of the ultra-high-speed camera. Allegedly, it captures 1 frame per millisecond, so that's pretty fast. Calculations based on that single frame estimated the cap's speed at up to 6 times Earth's escape velocity. So basically, 150,000 miles per hour. which would put it at about 20,000 miles per hour faster than 3I Atlas. But despite the legend, many experts believe that the manhole didn't even make it into space. In fact, most agree that the cap likely vaporized almost instantly, probably right after the frame-by-frame. I personally want to believe that it is out in space. Who knows, maybe that's why 3I Atlas is on their way here. A couple of pissed-off aliens that we threw a manhole cover at them at like 150,000 miles an hour. Anyway, 3I Atlas came crawling into our solar neighborhood at hyperbolic trajectory, meaning it's not bound by our sun's gravity, it's just passing through on a one-way ticket. But here's the spooky part. Its path is usually aligned with the plane of the solar system, almost as if it was carefully designed to sweep past planets like Jupiter, Mars, and Venus, but deliberately avoiding Earth at its closest approach. That level of precision doesn't scream random comet. It whispers intent. Something that fast, that accurate, it raises the question. Intelligent trajectory or cosmic fluke? Now this is where things get really unnerving. 3I Atlas may be emitting its own light, not just reflecting sunlight. According to Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, the brightness seems to be originating from the nucleus itself, possibly from a nuclear-powered source. And on top of that, its gas emissions are strange. While water and cyanide have been detected, early spectrographs lacked typical comet signatures, like the usual chemicals you'd expect. And researchers even note that a huge fraction of the surface is actively sublimating, much more than what's normal for a comet at such distance. It's almost like you've got an icy shell hiding an artificial core that's lighting up and broadcasting. A nuclear beacon wrapped in ice, that sounds less like a comet and more like a surveillance drone. Well, that's it for today's brain-melting adventure. We've covered gods, giants, aliens, and maybe even a nuclear manhole cover flying through space at over 150,000 miles an hour. Which means somewhere out there, the universe might be getting capped. And always, thanks for joining into The Witch Show, where smart meets stupid and somehow makes sense. I'm Georgie, signing off before my brain fuses together like chromosome number 2. Don't forget to like and follow and drop your craziest stories in the comments. Who knows, I might feature it in my next episode. Until then, remember, if you hear thunder, it might be Zeus, or Thor, or just me dropping the mic. And if you see any of the Anunnaki before me, tell them I'm running low on whiskey. And if they really are gods, they know I like it neat.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Witch Show, from what I think seriously to you.
WITS, The Witch Show.
Cool story, bro.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into The Witch Show. If you made it this far, you are awesome. If you like this story and you want more weird, creepy, and downright mind-bending stuff, make sure to follow for more. And hey, drop a like and leave me your craziest story in the comments. If it's spooky enough, I just might feature it in my next episode. Also, make sure you go rate my podcast. 5 stars is awesome. But seriously, not as awesome as you guys. Until next time, thanks for joining The Witch Show.
Freaking water,
oh my God, dude,
dude.
seriously, shut up.
Nope.
Dude, seriously, shut up.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Yes.
Nuh-uh.
Yes, shut
Nuh-uh.
up. Shut up.
No.
Oh my God.
No.
Dude, I literally freaking hate you so much.
No, you don't. You literally love me.
No, you're actually the reason I drink whiskey.
And you're welcome for that. Whiskey is amazing.
You know what's not amazing? You. Now get out of my freaking studio.
Fine, can I take the whiskey with me?
No, you can't freaking just get out.
Freaking crybaby, dude.